Hi, lovies. It's Christina with Karma's Eye Psychic LLC here on Universal Spirit Podcast. So, as you know, this month of September, I will be just sharing, reliving some of my spiritual experiences that I have already posted in my blog, which has also been updated here on my podcast. So, we recently talked about the story of Emily, which is like the infamous story of me knowing that I was in fact spiritually gifted and psychic and trusting in your abilities and trusting fate and destiny and all that yada. This is a incident or event that had taken place in my early teen years. I could almost believe that I was about maybe 12 or 13 when this had taken place, and it happened during New Year's, but the name of this blog in particular is the story of the man I never saw. This story, of course, comes with a bit of a twist. You would have to read the entire blog. Please, no spoiler alerts for any of you who are listening who have already read it. For those of you who might be listening and you know me personally and you're listening with a friend and who doesn't know about me at all, do not ruin the surprise. This is actually a very, very... I don't even know how to describe this experience. Very paranormal, very interesting, and it came out to be really like just a regular day, or I should say a regular New Year's day. New Year's of 2000, for those of you who are old enough to remember, it was blistering cold at the end of 2000. So you can imagine how cold it was during New Year's in particular, especially when everybody is in fact outside, and of course celebrating, the next year coming in. So let me try to give some background to this story. And before I actually get started, I have to tell you this. Now, as rocky as my relationship has been with my mom, and also some of my other family members, this is the only story that can make us literally come together in agreement and say, yes, this really happened. Because the truth is, under my sister's mental condition, even she can recall events and details that took place that night on December 31st, year 2000. That in itself is very profound and something that is important to remember throughout this story. So New Year's Eve on the Camden waterfront had began as it always did every single year. It wasn't as exciting as the year 1999, if everyone remembers that Y2K scare about everything being 00 and going back to the beginning and resetting bank accounts and identities and all that junk. There was a lot of tension and controversy over the year 1999, but when the year 2000 rolled in, nobody was scared anymore, right? Nobody was scared about anything happening. Anything that happened had been fixed already, and it's already had been a year that passed. Okay, so the Camden waterfront is a tradition that we as a family had been doing since I was born. So I was like 12, so I've done this for the millionth time. Just going to watch the fireworks. If you're not familiar with Camden, New Jersey, they have a beautiful waterfront, and they have many events and concerts and celebrations over there. I definitely suggest that you go. And then also Battleship, New Jersey is down there. The aquarium, it's a very, very interesting place with lots to do. So we are trying to find a place to sit because apparently it is crowded, and we have arrived late, of course, because we're not really trying to be out there all night. So it's about maybe 9 p.m. So we got 3 hours until the ball drops, right? There are people getting proposed to, people renewing their wedding vows. There's hot chocolate, people celebrating, people announcing the arrival of babies. Like, a lot of stuff comes out during New Year's Eve. Can we all agree about that? It's true, right? We're willing to, make a resolution to change ourselves, change our thinking, make a goal for the next year. So anyway, so as we're fiddling around trying to find a spot, because obviously it's like on a hill, it's on an incline, and like to get out quicker, you would have to pick the spot that's like at the very, very top. So we found a spot pretty close to the concrete and the grass where you could see the top of the concert and the stage. So we put our blanket down, of course, and then we got like our coats, and my mom brought over hot chocolate, and my mom had like this little tiny TV, which was like really popular in the 90s, and it was cool to have because we got to watch New Year's in other countries before it got to, where we were. So we were just watching the fireworks go off in other countries on this tiny little TV, looking all weird in the park, because of course it ran on batteries because it was, 2000. This tall, lanky, like middle-aged, I would say, not even middle-aged, maybe 40, 50 something man, comes over and just starts talking to us. But he starts talking to us as if like we had been speaking to him earlier and he was just like picking up from a previous conversation. He introduced himself, of course, but his tone of voice just seemed like, yeah, I already know you, so let's just continue. So we were a little bit put off by that, considering like we had no idea who he was. Mind you, that I had not mentioned that my mom and dad were actually going to be separating soon. Like, we could all feel it, right? So I didn't see it to be that strange for a man to approach a woman and 3 kids. It's just her and no husband. But just the way he started the conversation was just kind of weird. So anyway, I can't really remember his name, but he was just going on and on about how his entire life he was a lifeguard and he used to save people's lives all the time, and being by the water always calmed him, and people, being in need and needing to save people was very, fascinating to him. So he spent, most of his life as an EMS, or a lifeguard, and whatever it meant to, rescue someone from a serious situation. He was never like a police officer or anything, but, he did, a lot of healthcare work, working with doctors and nurses very closely, and even volunteering, at hospitals, and children's hospitals, and any place where he was needed, he would volunteer. He did mention to us that he was in fact homeless, but it didn't seem to bother him, and it really didn't seem to bother us at all either. I mean, he seemed like a very friendly, non-threatening guy. He was talking with my mother, and in the middle of the conversation, he points over to a group of men that were like across the park, and they all had bikes, and they were all standing together, and they were all pointing actually at him, and they were laughing and making fun of him. I guess they were like his homeless friends, or they had known each other, in their community. They didn't seem to like him very much. However, they didn't come over to us. They just were satisfied just laughing and making faces. But of course, being who I am, I just was kind of curious as to why they didn't like him so much. I couldn't see it. He was actually a really nice guy. Like, I just wasn't really sure. But at the time, like I said, I was about 12 or 13 years old. But, still tried to keep my common sense about me. Because, I don't just be picking up friends. Like, I've never been that friendly kid. Like, I'm just like, who are you? Like, I lived in the hood. Like, I mentioned that earlier. So I was like, I don't know. That's kind of strange. But he then continued to talk to my mom about random things, talking about culture, music, just all kinds of stuff. And he seemed to be like a very intelligent, very educated man. And when he told me he was homeless, I mean, like that really was interesting, because I was like, this is what happens to educated people? Like, you're homeless? Like, what else is wrong with you? So I'm thinking maybe he's on drugs or something. Another thing that led me to believe he might have been on drugs is because the whole time he was talking to my mom, I never saw him like blink his eyes. Now, I would assume at some point you would have to, right? Like, it's a natural human reflex to blink your eyes. but his eyes were open literally the entire time, which I thought was a little strange too. As a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, whatever, I just let it go because I figured, what's this stupid reason to, wave a red flag. So I was like, let me just not say anything and let me just, let my mom talk and have this moment or the whatever, because we're probably never going to see him again among all these people or whatever. So I was just like, yeah, that's kind of weird. He doesn't seem to blink at all. So I asked my sister, I was like, did anyone notice that? Like, yeah, you seeing this? And my sister and my brother confirmed. They were like, yeah, like he doesn't blink. That's weird. So instead of saying anything, we just kind of let it go and let him continue to talk to our mom. Anyway, the fireworks have finally gone off and everybody's screaming and celebrating and smiling and singing and all kinds of stuff that they're doing. They're having fun. Everybody's happy. It's the year 2001 now on January 1st, and everybody's just, throwing up their confetti and, using their, whatever you call those things that you blow into that make the noise. I don't know. Comment, because I don't know what it's called. Okay. And just cheering on for the new year. And then by that time, of course, when the fireworks are done, it's time to leave. You're not going to just stand out there in the cold. Or whatever. And of course, everybody was focused on the fireworks. And it turned out when we turned back around, the man was gone. Him, his bike, everything, he was gone. So we were just like, that's weird. I mean, we figured he'd want to stay and, say something or whatever. And we also noticed that the guys that were standing across the park, they were gone too. So the only thing we could think of is like, oh no, they ran after him, they beat him up, or they all left together or whatever. So I was like, wow, that's kind of rude. So my mom was just, curious as to where he went. She went down to the end of the park. She looked around. She couldn't find him. She couldn't see anywhere he could have gone. And believe it or not, behind us was not many people because, like I said before, we had sat like at the very top and everyone else was like really close. And not being that many people behind us, she didn't see anyone, like not even a group of people, nobody anywhere. So then she turns to a lady that had been sitting next to us the entire time. And she said, hey, did you see where that guy went? And she was like, what are you talking about? She said, the guy I was talking to, because she had been talking to this guy for about 3 hours. And the woman looks at her and was like, no. She's like, I literally thought you were talking to yourself the entire time. Because we did see the lady move away a few times from us, but she legit confirmed that she did not see that man the entire time. Now, were we the butt of a joke maybe? I don't think they knew each other. He didn't speak to her the entire 3 hours, but we all, me, my brother, my sister, and my mom, looked at each other and was like, did you see him? And we all confirmed, I saw him, I heard him. He was totally there. He was there. And we did a double take. We separated for a while to go look for him. We asked people if they had seen him. We described him head to toe, and they were just like, I didn't see that guy. But then, of course, there's a crowd of a bunch of people. And how can you generalize, right? Like how much, we didn't expect to really get that far, but we tried. Literally nobody claimed to have seen him. Or had even seen my mom talking to him. And we walked home very slow because we were still in shock because we had been very convinced for 3 hours that he was there and talking to us, like telling jokes, making comments, like just giving these really intellectual, thoughts, and like it just couldn't be possible. So we all just had to conclude that he just might not have been there literally the entire time. We, to this day, as grown adults, me, my brother, my sister, and my mom, we always refer back to that story as the most bizarre spiritual phenomenon that we had ever encountered. It was extremely real because it couldn't have been like to this day, it's been almost 20 years now, right? It's been over 20 years. And I've been trying to see if he would ever appear again in my life, because I wanted to know really why he showed up that day. He did mention to my mom that her life was about to change. But of course, we figured that was just the rantings of a homeless man. But I would say a few months later, not very long after, I mean, a lot of things were different. My parents had gotten divorced. 9/11 happened, and a bunch of other things that I will mention in further podcasts. So, my lovies, it's Christina with Karma's Eye Psychic LLC here on Universal Spirit Podcast. I really hope you guys enjoyed the story of the man I never saw. Tell me what you think about it. Comment, follow, like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. I'm going to go, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye, lovies. I love you.